How you doing? While I'm sitting here waiting for my latest Barbarian Forums Challenge video to upload, I thought I'd answer a couple questions I've been getting. Evidently some people find it kind of interesting that I'm so into body weight training, and they find my videos interesting, maybe because, I don't know, I talk too much in them, or I don't know. But I get a couple questions and I thought I'd take a second to answer some of them for those of you that care out there. Some people were wondering how long I was involved in the Barbarian Forums. I got involved probably a year and a half ago, maybe, something like that. Lee Turner got me involved, one of the barbarians in the UK, and he told me he thought that I'd be a good contributor to the forums, and I really enjoyed participating in the forums. And the recent months, I've been running a lot of the monthly challenges that we do. Keep track of the attempts, and watch form and all that kind of fun stuff. So I really enjoyed my participation in the forums. I find it very motivating to be involved with a bunch of guys that have a similar mindset to me as far as fitness goes. How long have you been training? I've been training since I was 18. I think I started going to the gym on a regular basis since I was 18. I'm now 44, so if you do the math, that's what, 26 years? I don't know. Yeah, oh my god. So a long time, but for the majority of that time I was just doing conventional weight training, more or less. Bench press. I was, for a long time, I was very hung up on how much I could bench. The bigger that number was, the more fit I felt. I also weighed a lot more back then. At one point I was as much as 210 pounds. Right now I'm walking around closer to 170, so a big difference in the way my body was composed back then versus now. I probably about 5 years ago I started doing a 300 workout based on the movie 300, the well-publicized workout where you're doing a number of exercises back to back that adds up to a total of 300 reps. I found that very challenging, very different from what I'm used to doing. And from there is where I actually got involved more in the hardcore body weight stuff with pull-ups and dips, and watching barbarian videos and all that kind of stuff. Found it very interesting, found it amazing what those guys could do, and wanted to at least do my best to work towards being able to do at least what I can do. One of those things being a muscle up, which I've been trying to do for several years, and I just pulled that off a few months ago. So oh, and in addition to that, I also do some endurance activities. I've run a half marathon, I've done a few sprint triathlons, I did the Tough Mudder in December, so I find that challenging as well. Endurance activities really test your mind as much as your body. Really builds up your mental endurance, your toughness, and I find that very challenging. How have I made progress? For a long time I was kind of stuck at the same level as far as various exercises go. Like I was stuck at maybe 13 to 15 pull-ups, couldn't do muscle-ups, and I think part of that problem was I had an issue with tendonitis for probably 2 years, off and on tendonitis. I had tendonitis in both of my forearms, and I find whenever I would make some progress, the tendonitis would stop me in my tracks. I would have to just lay off bar work for a couple months while it healed, and then I would go back to it, and then it would flare up again. It was very frustrating, and it kind of retarded me from getting anywhere. And the way I treated it eventually, after doing all kinds of other treatments, is just by simple stretching. Every day when I go to the gym, I start off with 5 minutes on a cardio machine just to warm up, and I just stretch my forearm in various directions, and that has actually worked. I haven't had any serious flare-ups ever since I started doing that, so I keep doing it. It's easy, no pills, very simple. So if you have tendonitis, and that's a very common problem, with as hard as your forearms are worked doing bar work, I would definitely suggest you try stretching. How do you do a muscle up? Well, I get a lot of guys that have been trying to do muscle ups for a long time, like I did and was. I mean, I had like a mental block. I watched 1,000 videos on how to do muscle ups. I had the supposed required strength to do it. One of the guidelines that you'll hear is in order to do a muscle up, you should be able to do 20 pull-ups and 20 bar dips as a minimum, just as like a base gauge for strength level. And I was able to do that, but I still couldn't do a muscle up. Basically, it's just technique. I'm going to do a separate video on the way I got to a muscle up, thinking that it might help other people. But really, it is just technique. You have to envision that you're going around the bar as opposed to going up and over the bar. And for the longest time, I was trying to go up and over. And unless you're epically strong, you're going to fail doing that. So I'll cover that in another video. And the last question I've received several times is, what I plan to do, where I plan to go. Again, like I mentioned, I'm 44, so I push as hard as my body will allow me to push. I have to be smart about it. It's very easy for me to hurt myself as far as my joints and that kind of stuff if I'm not careful with what I'm doing. My goal that I set for 2012 was I'd like to be able to do the BBR requirements, which as far as I know, I haven't seen anybody my age do that yet. But that's my goal. I'm going to work as hard as I can towards it and see if I can pull it off. So that's all I got right now. Feel free to send me your comments, and hope you found this interesting. If not, sorry.